I was backstage at Raw in Philadelphia, and Vince had me up against the wall, going, "Let me tell you something. This," and then he brings this up.
Let's talk about when you and Bill Watson was having a fist fight. That's even better story.
Oh, right, yeah. Bill Watts. I used to go to that territory like a lot. So one day, I remember it was Junkyard Dog was coming to the ring, and Junkyard says to Bill Watts, what's he?
No, Bill, no. No, that's not good. You can't talk about that. You know what? I already told you to see when I was talking about that. Let's talk about you and Dusty, everyone's favorite story, you and Dusty in the Carolinas when you got lost.
So Dusty and I are in a car, right? We're going to his favorite place, the International House of Pancakes, if you will. and he says to me, "Really, I want to make sure that I don't overorder tonight. But what I need you to do," the problem with you is you never finish a story. Charlie Armstrong, everybody. So the night, we're talking about Bruno Koloff, and the night after Bruno lost the title, I caught up with him, and now I want to let you people know this is actually Bruno, it's not me. A lot of you know I do a Bruno San Martino. This McMahon guy, he said to me, "Bruno, I want you to come out and dye your hair green and come out to a song called I Am a Real Italian." That's not me on the tape, okay? He never could pronounce Vince's name. He always says, "This McMahon guy." Never could pronounce it. Anyway, so here's a minute or two of it worked in rehearsal, gang.
Martino, Bruno, what happened in the match with Koloff? A lot of the fans are asking questions.
Well, for those of you over here, what can I say? You wrestle a man a number of times, and you succeed in defeating him, no matter, the man's exceptionally tough and so forth. But, any given night, any man can lose, and that night, rather Koloff was just a little bit better than I was.
Yeah, so that was Bruno's, the WWF Championship from the Island Chic. He called me and he said, "Hey, brother, what are you doing? Why don't you come to my room?" So he was there with his ex-wife, well, current wife at that point, Linda, and I did a photo session with him, and he threw this at me, and I said, "What is this?" And he said, "This is what I wore when I beat the Iron Cheek. This is the actual headband." Yeah. So who wants to try it on? I need a volunteer. Who's going to try it? Nobody wants to try it? Come on up. Try the headband on. There's more to this. There's a lot more to this. Worst interview was Johnny Mathis, the singer. Really? Yeah, I used to interview celebrities too. No matter what I asked him, he'd go, "Yeah." Anybody remember the singer Jerry Vale? Yeah. He was on the Tonight Show telling jokes. So 2 weeks later, he was in New York, and for my radio show, besides wrestling, I used to interview celebrities. So 2 weeks later, he's in New York, and they call his agent. "Oh, Jerry, we'd love to talk to you," and all that. Bill Apter for WHBI, Billy's Place, and 105.9 FM. "Jerry, I saw you on the Tonight Show the other night. Let's do some jokes." "No, I don't feel up to that." "Thank you, Jerry. Have a very nice day." That's why I always liked Andy Williams better, but thank you. Yes?
During the territory era, which promoter was the easiest for you guys to deal with, and which one was the most difficult to deal with?
It really went along. Are you getting tired, or is it something I said? No, it's a long day. It's Las Vegas. Where do you come from? Vancouver. So what's the time difference between there? Okay. After this, go to sleep. Okay. Okay. So who was the hardest and the easiest promoter? Okay. The easiest one really was Jim Crockett Promotions. My heart is still there. I left my heart in Jim Crockett Promotions. The toughest one actually was some of the ones in the WWF. They had a promoter named Phil Zacco. And Phil, unless he really knew you, one time Lou Albano said to me, "To get in here, brother, what you need to do, you got to go see Phil Zacco." And that was in the good guy's dressing room, right? So I said, where is Phil's echo? He's in the bad guy's dressing room in the heels. Go in there, brother. So I go in there and he says, what the hell are you doing in here? Who gave you permission? So he was very tough. He was very tough. But yeah, Jim Crockett was probably the easiest one that way in terms of personality and all that kind of stuff. He was very, very easy going. Yeah. Another question. Back to Bertrand. Yeah. This is Bertrand Ellet. Bertrand is the co-author of the new book put out by ECW Press, and it was advertised in that magnificent WWE Hall of Fame and WrestleMania 32 program. He's the co-author, Bertrand Herrera. You know what? You come from Montreal, right?
Yes.
You know, I love the alphabet there. A, B, A, C, A. No, go ahead. Took a minute to catch up.
Is there anyone that you wish you would have had the chance to interview in the past, or right now that you haven't interviewed yet?
Two people. One of my heroes growing up was Antonino Rocca, and I got to meet Buddy Rogers. I have a whole hour and a half cassette interview tape with him called every other line. He called me Pally, you know, something Pally. But Rocca. And the other one is Vince McMahon. I never interviewed Vince. I interviewed Vince Sr. once, but never Vince Jr. So, yeah. Next question. Yes. Stand up.
I prefer not to.
Oh, what are you in the witness protection program? Okay.
He is. Can you tell us a story about Andy Kaufman?
Oh, yeah. You don't remember that? Yeah. So, of course, being a New Yorker, it's Andy Kaufman. So he was a big wrestling fan. And he used to come to the matches at the Garden all the time. And several times he approached Vince Sr. about wanting to wrestle because he was the intergender champion. He wrestled women, so he was a real wrestler. And he was on with Vince Jr. a couple of times on the broadcast from MSG. But Vince Sr. one time came over to me and he says, listen, that boy's a nice boy, but you know, and the State Athletic Commission wouldn't let him wrestle anyway. So he was a big fan of the magazines that I worked for, and he came over to me one day and he says, I'm Andy Kaufman. I'm like, I know, I'm a big fan of Taxi, Latka, the character. Like, thank you very much. Anybody do a good Latka, by the way? Thank you very much. Excellent, thank you. I work alone next time. But, so he said to me, what are you doing after the show? I said, I'm going back to my apartment in Queens. He said, how do you get to your apartment? I said, I take the E or F train from 34th Street. He said, can I go with you? So now here's Andy Kaufman, one of the 3 head stars of Taxi, riding on the E train with me to Kew Gardens. And people like to say, So we get up to my apartment, 5G, and Alice Whitehouse, my neighbor, opens the door like, big fan of his. Walk in, my roommate, I lived for 3 years with Susan Sexton. Do anybody of you know her? She's an Australian lady wrestler, and she was my roommate for 3 years, and every other word out of her mouth was the F-bomb. Every other word. So I walk in, she goes, oh, Bill, you brought that from Andy Kaufman home. So we're sitting on the couch for hours talking about wrestling, and she's had enough already. So she says, I'm going in the bedroom, and she puts on her headphones, and she's going in and listening to Ramones, Gabba Gabba, hey, yeah, no, that was AC/DC. Lobotomy, was that one of their songs? DDT did a job on me, now I am a real sickie. Guess I'll have to go and tell them I ain't got no cerebellum. All the girls are in love with me. I'm a teenage lobotomy. I can't believe I remember that. So we're sitting on the, and all he wants to do is talk about Buddy Rogers or Fred Blassie. He wanted to be Buddy Rogers. And he got me up, he said, how did Buddy strut? And I showed Buddy didn't strut like Ric Flair or Jackie Farber. Buddy was, and he put his hands up here, and Andy he'd be parading around my living room, and we had a cat. The cat said, why is this guy walking around like that? So I said to him, listen, I got this friend down in Memphis, and I said, Memphis is like a wild territory. They got Frankenstein monster, and they're way ahead of the loop in terms of entertainment back then. I said, I got this friend of mine, his name is Jerry Lawler. But this was before he was the WWE king. I think the only king back then was Ernie Ladd. right? Yeah. So 1 o'clock in the morning, I said, let's call Jerry Lawler. And he said, well, it's 1 in the morning. I said, believe me, he's a wrestler. He's just getting in. Jerry answers the phone. He says, you got Andy Kaufman, the guy from Taxi, in your little roach-infested apartment in Queens? I said, yeah. So I put him on the phone, and that's what put the key in the ignition and started the whole thing. But did any of you see the movie, you know, Man in the Moon? Yeah. It didn't happen that way. My little schlocky apartment in Queens was not Hollywood. So they had Andy Kaufman, Jim Carrey, who really was scary, how much he was like Andy Kaufman. And he went to, he played it so well, but Andy Kaufman, Jim Carrey, is kissing his girlfriend, and he says, let's go to Memphis. And she says, why? He says, well, it's the wrestling capital of the world. And boom, yeah, but that's not how it happened. So thank you for asking that question very much. Today, I don't know a lot of them today. There's not a lot of, most of the people that write for wrestling now are all on the internet. And most people go on the internet to knock everything, so I don't read most of it. Yeah.
Can I ask you then
Mike Johnson is great, by the way.
Mike
Yeah.
Mooneyham?
Mike Mooneyham is fabulous.
Dave Meltzer?
Dave Meltzer is great. You couldn't mention Dave Meltzer's name years ago. If anyone knew I talked to Dave Meltzer, no one would talk to me again. And while we're talking about that, Dave Meltzer is the guy that came up with the term the actor mags. And I used to call him and I say, I work for Stanley Weston. He said, but everybody sees you on TV and all this stuff, so they're the actor mags. I hated that. Oh, thank you. Did I answer your question? Okay, I'm trying. Mike.
Two things. Bobby Shane was another king of wrestling in the 70s.
Yes, that's right.
We all went out.
You have to correct me in front of my friends.
That's why his name mentioned. We all went out of our minds when Kaufman brought Buddy Rogers as his manager on one of those Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Do you know how that came about? Or?
I introduced him to Buddy as well. It's not in the book, I didn't mention that. But I called Buddy one day and he said, oh yeah, I dig it, man. I love Andy Kaufman. Which one is he on Taxi? Victoria, you have a question?
Why don't you take all of those interviews you have and put them in a book so we could read them?
Well, I would love to do that, but I'd rather somehow I need to find the licensing, everything is contracts and license, and put them on a CD so people can hear them. Yeah. I don't, oh, that's not number 15. I was going to get up and dance. That's all right. So we rehearsed this, it was perfect. So this is my tribute to some of the people we've lost and some of the people we found. And if you need any voices here, let me know and do it. Yeah, oh, hit it. Yeah, I'm ready. Are we ready? We need the orchestra. Number 15, right? I hope you enjoyed yourselves.
Guys, if any of you guys have not had a chance to get Bill's book, this will be the last opportunity we'll have here. Tomorrow he'll actually take a day off before the banquet. So anybody wants to grab the book before you guys leave, this will be the last chance. We got to ship them out and everything.
Thank you, Will.